Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
Well, over the past few weeks, we have profiled businesses from young Irish entrepreneurs, and this week we are joined by Aaron Devitt, the founder of the property technology startup MARC. Aaron's business, MARC, is an AI system which triages communications with tenants, landlords and contractors, and he joins us now to tell us more. Aaron, what problem were you trying to solve when you established MARC?
Hey, Karl. Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, so I suppose it has. I guess I was super fortunate that I would have saw my granddad involved with pubs over the years, and I saw incredibly how hard he worked, and I really just sort of fell in love, I guess, with the whole concept of building things.
And what did you learn from family about business?
So many things. I suppose one of the main things is just always being super nice to people, and no matter who the person is or what they do, I think it's just a great principle or rule of thumb for life in general. And it's definitely a hard thing to do at times, but it definitely comes back and helps you in so many ways.
Okay, so let's talk about MARC. What problem were you trying to solve when you established it?
My mom and my 3 younger siblings, they were renting just over 2 years ago, and they had no heat for a couple of days, and at the time they just had very poor communications. It was emails, phone calls and stuff, and they never really heard back. So we initially started to work on it from the sort of the tenants angle primarily and solely, and then we learned that by helping the tenants we could actually help the property managers, because when you speak to property managers or institutions who manage thousands or hundreds of properties in their portfolio, you can find out that pretty quickly that they actually have the most volume in terms of managing tenants, communications, contractors, etc. So that's sort of how we started on the problem.
So how does it work?
MARC is a 24/7 available resource for tenants to interact with what feels like a member of staff. So obviously it's an AI-powered software, and what that means is tenants at all times are able to talk to MARC, report maintenance issues, get different resources. If they have, let's say a tenant reports a broken shower, MARC is able to inquire about what the make and model of the shower is, present different YouTube videos, user manuals and other solutions to help excavate the process or just fix the issue really before it had to go to anyone.
So ultimately, are your clients institutional landlords, county councils and letting agencies?
Yes, exactly.
So what's your route to market to get access to them?
I suppose currently it's working with different organisations who manage those properties. So one big thing for us at the moment, we found that while MARC works really well for property managers of all sizes, the biggest area that it has the most time savings is for guys and girls with larger portfolios. So these people typically can manage hundreds or thousands of properties, and that's where MARC makes the biggest impact. But current route to market is different sort of ways. I suppose we're backed by Enterprise Ireland. We're very fortunate to have raised some money in the fundraising round there at the end of last year, and so we're picking up a lot of traction and speed and momentum at the minute, and that's what's working really well for us at the moment.
So if I'm a property manager within a housing body or a county council, what are the benefits for me in using MARC?
If you're in a county council or housing body, you'll be inundated with different phone calls and emails. So some of the largest housing bodies in the country are currently monitoring or tracking about 300 calls per day. And so it's a lot of time. The average phone call, they track all this data, and it was absolutely mind-blowing when we saw it first, but you could be tracking 4 to 6 minutes in the average phone call, and then 1 to 2 minutes for administrative time in terms of escalating to a contractor, or even you could have an extra 2 to 3 minutes if you need to ring a contractor pretty instantly. And so MARC completely gets rid of all that time. So you're managing thousands of tenants, you're getting hundreds of calls a day, and so the maintenance issues or queries or requests are always the exact same. And so using our software, housing bodies and different property managers are able to completely automate that process and focus on more efficient tasks.
And dependent on what the issue is there an ability here to be able to bypass the housing body and go straight to the contractor through the software?
There definitely is a possibility of that. And it also depends on the severity of the issue. So you're 100% right. If it's Saturday at 2 a.m., we want tenants to be able to feel like they have a property manager in their pockets 24/7. So obviously they'll be known in the office on a Saturday at 2 a.m. So what we want to happen is MARC, the system, is able to basically train off all the data that we've been built around and understand and categorize the severity of the issue and be able to make a judgment call on whether to escalate or whether to not escalate during out of hour times.
So what reaction have you got to the platform to date from all of those client types, letting agents, county councils, housing bodies and institutional landlords?
Yeah, the response so far has been really, really good. So far, we've seen a huge time saving. So there's around a 30% resolution rate at the moment. So what that means is 30% of all issues that would land on a property manager's desk. So it could be simple things like my light bulb isn't working or I have a problem, which a human property manager will spend time either over the phone or via email going back and forth on. So it's been very well adopted by those property managers, but also more so as well by the tenants. Tenants have been very, very interactive, which has been great for us. The likes of ABRA and different organisations or housing body organisations are putting a huge emphasis on different tools and softwares that increase tenant engagement and tenant experience. And it's really good for a tenant to feel like they can talk to what feels like a person at all times of the day and night.
And of course, speed is the currency as well. So have you been measuring how fast an issue can be resolved vis-a-vis how it was being resolved previously to using MARC?
So one of the biggest or most important metrics for a lot of different property managers is the response time. So whether we respond in minutes, hours, days, and then obviously weeks if we're slow with it. But that metric is not even something we have to measure anymore with MARC, because MARC responds instantly as it uses our AI software to respond straight away.
And what's the revenue model that underpins the business?
We charge currently on a per unit per month basis.
And in terms of enhancing the functionality of MARC going forward, what's on your product roadmap?
So one thing that we're putting a lot of time into now, which is we've got astounding feedback on, is the voice models, so AI voice models. What this has allowed us to do is spend a lot more time with other types of issues, especially those out-of-hour maintenance issues where tenants want to report something. We have text models and voice models. So in terms of our product roadmap, the voice models are a big focus for us. So you can ring up MARC and then basically whatever MARC is trained on and how MARC functions is how MARC will respond over a phone call.
In general, the clients that you're targeting, they're larger organisations, and there's an old rule of thumb in business that says the larger the organisation, the harder it is to get in. Are you finding that experience yourself?
I definitely agree with the rule of thumb. I suppose it's for us at least, we're super fortunate at the minute we're picking up a lot of traction and moving really quickly. So things are moving quicker than maybe they were at the very start when we were super new. So it's really important once you get in with one notable player in the space that you it just really helps in terms of the social or credibility it gives. So not finding that too much ourselves, but it definitely is. It definitely can be a thing for new businesses or startups as they enter new markets.
And from a competitive perspective, is there any other software similar to this on the market here in Ireland or even overseas?
Yeah, so there's not so much in Ireland or Europe. There's one player which is a really cool player in the US who just raised at $1 billion valuation there a few months ago. It's a relatively new field or new space using AI to manage residential property. But in terms of Europe and Ireland, the landscape is a lot more bare.
So how much time are you going to give yourself to be able to nurture the Irish market before you look overseas to expand into those markets?
We're already working with some customers over in the UK. For us now, the focus, we look at the Irish market as an extension of the UK market in many ways, just because the Irish market is, like, relatively speaking to, say, the likes of the UK, is quite small. So we don't distinctively could draw a line between the Irish and the UK market. However, a lot of focus will be put on the UK market or targeting more UK customers in the next 3 to 6 months.
Of course, there's a lot of talk about ChatGPT, and within the next number of months, we'll all be able to set up our own assistants. Is that any threat to MARC in that respect?
No, most definitely not. And in fact, we welcome it and we definitely encourage it. Like we think that obviously myself and Karl were talking about this on her podcast, Our Property Radio, there a couple of months back, and we fundamentally believe that it's not enough just to call yourself an AI product. We think everyone should be an AI product, and you're seeing it more and more so now with different budgets being granted for different companies and bigger companies. Everyone has an AI strategy now in 2025. So we honestly, we actually quite encourage it, because the big value comes in the stuff outside of the AI stuff. So we're lucky that we're operating in quite an old-fashioned industry where the software that is available maybe is quite limited in certain respects, and a lot is still done across email and spreadsheets. So we're super happy to operate in this space, and we think that the real value comes around or even outside of the AI features you have. So if we have to completely remove AI from our product tomorrow, we'll be absolutely happy to do so because of the features we build around and the installation we give ourselves that way.
And in terms of integration, all of those organizations that are within your own target market are using industry-specific software to run their own organizations currently. Is there an opportunity for you to integrate MARC with some of those existing or legacy systems?
Yes, 1,000%. Really good points. That's exactly what we're doing at the moment. We're finding the biggest pain point for anyone when they look at a new software or when they see a demo of something that looks really cool, the biggest pain point for that customer is to look and see then that, that new software company actually doesn't integrate with people. And so that's one thing we're trying to, for any software, any customer, anyone looking to buy software, even if it's ourselves, we just need to know that this can integrate with our existing systems, and it's not a huge shift. It doesn't completely shake the tree and all the leaves fall down on top of us. We want to know that we can integrate easily. So yeah, 1,000%, that is part of our focus.
And Aaron, you have been named as one of Ireland's top 30 under 30 entrepreneurs. But what has been the greatest lesson that you've learned to date?
I think a lot of people don't realise that being young is a superpower in many ways. When you're this age, and so like if you're 22 or early 20s or like 30s, early 30s, a lot of people might look and kind of think someone's inexperienced, but I quite think there's another way to phrase that, in that the amount of people who are willing to talk to you just because they've been on a similar path and give really good advice. Even yourself, Karl, you're giving us such good advice over the last while, and it's less a reflection of how great we think we are and more a reflection of just how willing and generally nice people are when they see people up and coming. And so I would say speak to as many people as you possibly can and just don't stop asking questions and just stay eternally curious.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was Aaron Devitt from MARC, and we wish Aaron every continued success with growing his business.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.